Yeah. Apologies for the people at home. I was muted. All right. Okay. And so for the people at home, Geshe started to speak of concentration. Just going to give you a summary of what Geshe said so far. Geshe was speaking about concentration and how concentration is about developing a single pointedness of mind, which brings about a state of mind that is more comfortable, or it is not subject to anger, attachment, and so forth, which often brings a mind a certain level of discursiveness. And so we know that based upon a personal experience, Geshe says that when, for example, when we are asleep and the body is restful, it is restful due to stopping mental discursiveness. And so when we go to sleep, course conceptuality ceases, this level of discursiveness ceases, and so our body can get some rest. When we're asleep and we experience wild dreams, when we wake up in the morning, we feel tired. Physically, we can still feel tired. Whereas if our sleep is deep and we don't have wild dreams, when we wake up in the morning, there is a great sense of restfulness that pervades our body. And so Geshe says that when we think about the discursiveness or conceptuality that operates in our mind, when we manage to put a stop to level of discursiveness, to levels of conceptuality, that also has an effect over the body. Our mind gets some rest, but also the body is restful.
아니 롱곰이야티 슈토나 지거라서 롱곰이야디 가르치는 팽고를 갑둘래야 나서야지 라 가서 샘드 비기게 아니 롱종 관한래야 템비 갑둘라 디츠기 샘그 남도르만 뭐지 까샤거라다 텔데니 르보디 라 남도당 르기 비기기 다 닌자님보디 냠도 죽어서라서 인자도 숙천부 파와야나 아니 류깔리카고 류를 지고사고 아니 딘디 용거스 다 패시 딘디 인사레스라 대자 남도 가주스 뇽땅 투와 디츠기 아니 류딜 르르 차일 팽기어서레스 딘자 땡인준디 아니 샘 류섬니가 비게 아니 데발은 니야기 아니 and things in the song of those.
Meditation is a popular technique at different places around the world at the present. And of the most common meditation practices that people take up is a meditation in which we focus on the breathing cycle, breathing out and breathing in. And so when we take up this meditation, the direct effect of this meditation is bringing about a greater sense of restfulness, physical or mental. When we focus on the breath in our meditation, we put a stop to a certain level of discursiveness or conceptuality. It has an effect not only on the body, not only on the mind, but also on the body. Often, due to an excessive level of discursiveness, conceptuality, not only our mind becomes very preoccupied, but also there's a certain level of heaviness that our body experiences. And so when we reduce discursiveness, it affects not only the mind becomes calm, but also the body becomes more relaxed, which means that one of the benefits of generating or meditating on concentration is developing a better sense of well-being, physical and mental.
Tirda ta dengin zingi migbadi kormang chech te diringan zu samdi löbin yishi degi den löbin yishi de dambale chonde kache o set re some delicious.
And so with that in mind, as we are now covering the training in concentration, we're going to go back to the text and pick up on the point that we left off in the previous session. And so we're looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's middling presentation of the stages of the path to enlightenment. We have been looking at the stages of the path of those of the great scope. We've covered the presentation of the 6 perfections, and now we're looking at the section explaining particularly the way to combine the last 2 perfections in developing calm abiding and special insight. So we began with calm abiding, and now we've been looking at a section that explains the way to set the mind on an object. Let's look at the beginning of this section. I don't know. Anyway, going back to where we left off in the previous session. We've looked at the technique for the measure of rendering first your object of attention that the mind focuses on. At the end of this section, it says this appears in Master Geshe's advice and is essential.
Tirda the loving ishidi damba karna yore slaundi loving ishidi the thing is drungenjiki migdeti ra hagdo the tajik Lamrim laya jarchen Lamrim toba kiyak chedo ani thing is drungenjin by no ani thing is migdelaya ani sanji kuch sanji kusu shatu by no ani nenga mambu yores ra the damya zo direshas the sanji kuzu di sozulaya sanji gitas ani chomden di the kuch ra kuch namji pigi ta chebinelaya kuchi yobachi ani kudi chadangi ta jingpigi ku chejo la ta chedi ani ta namji pigi ani tangima jagar kibi song shi song ton ra ani chomden di jagalaya chobare ani chomden di shabla ngustu dengin chamalo jagar kiba janjari ta di gyoba ta chomden di ku chedma and ku shang ku che jab sha ju joras ta di shi zong gi ani ku che da dem ba chi yo ba na ta di yak shu dres ta din ri chi di so zu nam gi bi choba pesa gi yo la ya sha an de la ya choba pi ka de la ku di ya bu chi je ro tu ta tu je tin ni teng iz di ka de la ya so zu nam gi choba pi de za ku di so zu yi la ya shar chu get ro so zu yi la ya shar chu get dres ta yi la shar won di 그 지당 그 거래 일하셔야 아니 그게 비게 양라로 소버 아니 셰라 여기다 젠다 상다 년다 아니 셰라 소버도 상말로 지다 니진 세부 샤트와이나 자다레 대다 마셔나 강 샤바디 다가라야 셈된 데야디 레 탐보라야 계신부레스.
So the section of the text says that we should render the object that the mind is attending to, following the instructions of Master Geshe's advice. And so we've covered this section before. We said that concentration is focusing on a particular referent object, a focal object. And so here the Master Geshe gives instructions on how we use this object for the development of concentration, for developing realizations of the states of the path. And so his presentation is specific here to the development of Lamrim meditation, the meditation on the states of the path. And so he says that particularly here to meditate on the states of the path, we choose as our object for our focus a Buddha image, a Buddha body. There are many beneficial points that we get through focusing the mind on a Buddha image. Those are the instructions that are found in the Master Geshe's instructions. And so we choose a certain image, a Buddha image, that is relevant to, for example, the place of practice. So if you have a place that you normally do your meditation practice, then and you use also in the place you have an altar and you have a Buddha statue, then it has certain features and certain measurements that accord with the Indian tradition. And so we keep in mind, first of all, that the Buddha was Indian. Also, he was surrounded by followers. And following the Buddha, we had a succession of many Indian masters that have described the Buddha and the measurement of the image of the Buddha in a particular way. So it's important to follow a fully qualified instructions for what measurements that image should be. And if we use it also for a place of practice, we arrange it on an altar, we make offerings and so forth. It is something, it is an image that we see every day. So it's good to use something that we see every day that is also fully qualified, has the right features or measurements. And then we take it up in our mind in a sense that we make that image, that statue, or whatever, appear to our mind as an image. And so here the instructions that are given by Master Geshe is for beginners, when you take it up in your mind, you should make it appear, first of all, with the general features, right? So make that image appear in general. And then there are specific features, specifics to that image. Not only the arms and legs and the head and so forth, but also thinking of the facial feature, the nose and the mouth and the eyes and so forth. And so if you can get all of them clear, that's great. But if you cannot get all of them clear to begin with, don't attempt to get everything clear, but whatever you can for the time being, leave it as it is and develop some stability in your concentration.
일단디 나노라야 태양 총체기 구이질라 송신세디 통마딩가 내 담보하게 아니 꿀이야 샘때온디 넘버 컨트리 샤벤 다가랑이야 샘때디 개침부리스 통마라야 지 창장 그게 남기 창장지 샤도 때대바이나 곰디요 말아왔어 이 깔카고 차고 그랬어 인자 통마 강을 좀 받들이야 샘때니 데 되니 비 샘파 뼈온디 그 자신과 식사를 나눠 텔라송세디 로 어두스진 로고 그래스.
So then Lama Tsongkhapa says next, you should focus on the whole body to the best of your ability. So first off, if we try to make all the details appear clearly to our mind, it would be very hard on account of not being familiar with that mode of meditation. So rather than attempting everything to be clear right from the very beginning, Lama Tsongkhapa says you should focus on the whole body to the best of your ability, and if some parts of the body appear clearly, focus on those.
Kudi 자신과 식사를 나눠 텔라송스.
No.
다 dimmasawa 송나스. 다 곰디면서 dimmasawa 송나 양질이야 구질이야 아니 샘손 곰스.
If they become unclear again, focus on the whole once more.
디치 세부 곰데발라 마부샤와소 카도탄 슈비 입진 곰데발라 싱바소기 입탄 지 곰데발라 니샤와소 탄탄 체워 곰데발라 총와샤와다 체중 망이바 총나 대다기 지순장도 무롱웨 자비 미바 카이바 데콘올라 미그덴 차오스.
At that time, a color, shape, number, or size might appear that was not ascertained earlier. For example, you want to meditate on something yellow and something red appears. You want to meditate on a sitting figure and a standing one appears. You want to meditate on one and two appear. Or you want to meditate on something big and something small appears. If this happens, it is inappropriate to pursue them. Just make your original object, whatever it is, the object of attention.
레다 니 도도 가르송 거서디 지 비 창장 싸워샤와디 nenga mares 강 샤바텔이야 샘텐 데 데투고야디 nenga res nengares kam dirsenata ani sanji jomden digi sonlaya do da nga ni dos dan do cholaya tengin zibi kadula migba khanshaba telaya semten neba di kechembore modo migba di chiyongi ani sawu chaya di kudi chiyongi sawu chaya di ani nenga teza mare ro sungosare.
Which means that what Lama Tsongkhapa says here in the initial practice of concentration is, rather than attempting to make everything clearly appear from the very outset, at the beginning you should develop stability with respect to what appears to your mind. So you take it up in your mind as a focal object, you turn your mind to it, and whatever appears to your mind with a certain degree of clarity, first off, stabilize your mind on that. Don't try to get right from the beginning utmost clarity. And so this instruction accords with instructions coming from the sutra system. So we have the development of concentration in the sutra system, in our tantric practices. And so this mode of cultivating concentration is the mode of concentration found in the sutra system.
Doi kablaya sangi gi kudrutangi kudruyagi ta tomo maimbi tabdi chanju semda tombani tobi sherab sonderchin gomya di ra sangi kudruya sangi komadruyagi tab tomo maimba di teres pigi sherab pigi sabuda nyurwata ani di yongyagi ani zawa di tengin tembolaya tuganza miwalaya zechudu niyadi ani nengare mado miwa khan miwa tesa miwa di pe chansan siwu chaya kudi siwu chaya di ani nenga maris ra nenga maris ndoy kawla.
For in the sutra system we have methods for accomplishing Buddha's body. The unique cause for establishing or accomplishing a Buddha's body would be through combining stable concentration with the wisdom of emptiness. And it is said that the features of wisdom that we develop could be clear wisdom, swift wisdom, and so forth. But the concentration aspect that is being spoken of is not a concentration with utmost clarity, but rather than that, it is emphasized as stable concentration.
High numbers said the big Tajik any Kugi and it Tajik Changse Yonsu Zoba, Ku Yonsu Zoba di, Sabu Chargoya di, high Sangagi Kavi, high Nanju Dibu Kabla, Becky Chambodes, Tim Masherba to tap to me, Kietab Chagogi, Gugis, Gugres, Ra.
Then Lama Tsongkhapa says, in practicing the deity yoga of secret mantra, which means in the tantric system, not in the sutra system, you need to achieve a clear appearance of the deity, not only the deity, but also all the implements that the deity holds and so forth. So you need to achieve a clear appearance of them. And so until that appears, you need to try to generate it by various means.
Chicken King Mardinia, Tinanga Carres Laundi, Sanga Kaulaya, Gipar Chimbi, any Shonlaya, and a Sanji combat Drusu de, Chetan Chanju sent the Tombani Topi Sherudi, Suola Gores, Tig Tolaya, any Laku Gombigi, any Rambati, Lai Sana di Tasanji combat Drujiki, any tab Tomai Bati. Any Gaudoji Changi song, Tab Tomo Tinza, and a goody number C with Charguadi, Nanga Chagres. In the Din Dragmaris, right?
And so this section refers to the practice of deity yoga that we take up in a practice of the secret mantra, the practice of Tantra. And the point here is that the system of the secret mantra is based on the system of it's called the causal vehicle, the perfection vehicle, in which, first of all, we develop the combination of method and wisdom, or you can say also concentration and wisdom, and that is the main thing that we combine in order to attain the state of Buddhahood. Whereas in the system of Tantra, the secret mantra, the unique method that we take up in our practice is deity yoga. And so for deity yoga, the aspect of clarity is very important.
단다 람람 장고리 주 아닌 도초니 산기기 공부주지기 탑된 거리 딘디qab니 아니 땡이진기 미발이야 라고 샤우토 보이나 아니 디 냄베다 마스나 아니 야도지 창기 손비기다 구주지기 투모메비 탑 춘냄비 경우 가들이야 아니 잡초초제다 렌초초 소르지 펜도 쇼지 용약이 내직디 아니 산기 꿀라미니 땡인즈 드비아 차고리스 this one the dom road direshas.
And so here we follow the presentation of the steps of the path, which is presenting it from the point of view of the sutra system, in which we then develop a mode of concentration, which essentially has to do with developing stable concentration. And if we follow that in a way that accords with the sutra system in focusing on the Buddha image, then later on, as we will practice the tantric system, the sacred mantra system as taught by Vajradhara, we'd be able to easily take on what we have accomplished before with concentration and use that for developing clear appearance of the deity meditated upon.
Denilai number charkana, Hardembi, Miwa Karun Chikam, Tekona Nibi Tato to Shadi, Samsoni, Dengin the Dribi, Yang Chote, Shini Driba Gubi, two imbicheros.
And so then Jerenpoche Lama Tsongkhapa says, however, if it is difficult and the deity aspect does not appear, you may also accomplish concentration by placing the mind and focusing on any one of the objects presented above that is suitable or within the view ascertaining suchness, for the main purpose is to accomplish shamatha.
Nibala sums, the Nibad Karado.
Sem Kasamara Dila Jita Sem Tongtul Jita Sem Tongtul.
Chitter Sem Tetsul.
Tongtul.
Tongsul.
Tetsul Tongtul the Lendo Chalet. You then the Pachin Sem Tetsul Tongtul Kandachinas.
Sajit, Munjin Lamrim Sajit Lola Goda, Nalamera.
Tadila the Ikchuyo.
Yeah, on Jixia. Tadil, Dinza, Tela, Gun maybe look Shabatan, Gun the Jibi, Lusawa. Twingi, some tempos.
And so how to direct the mind towards the object is the next section of Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation. And it consists of 3 points: the faultless approach, eliminating faulty approaches, and determining the length of sessions.
That Hambuni, Dir Dribachevi, Tenginzinis, come to Dribachevi, Tenginzin, Cabrinita, Dembashik, Hindi. The there same shindu savi, such Nartan Dembatan, Semleya, Ani Semtelea, Reda Gogolang on the same slawandi, number shibalaya, Kodeji Uda. Come the same said it, picking in the run. Kanji, any Sam Sarik Chakoran let the Goras. Then the Tindi Sarik Chatelea, Kargors and the Yuls, the any server Chaviki. Any chat Narchaji neighbor to Gores. Any you'll serve some masse. Migbala teach you to Navy, Mudobi Nesha the Demba, Migba Pigi, Karishago and Telepa, and it teaching to take to ya. Nature Nimbo did that, and it thing is zingy, catch you Yonaman.
So we begin with the faultless approach for directing the mind towards an object. And it says the concentration to be accomplished here has 2 features. The factor of vibrant clarity of an extremely clear mind and the factor of non-conceptual stability of a mind abiding single pointedly on its object. And so here when the word mind is used, it is understood in a particular way. In other contexts, the mind might mean the same as primary consciousness. Here, the mind can be referring to concentration, or it can be referring to the mind as that which is clear and knowing. And so that which is clear and knowing, since we develop concentration, a concentration needs to be clear. And so here Lama Tsongkhapa says that the feature that we develop to our concentration is the first factor of our concentration is of vibrant clarity, of an extremely clear mind. The second feature that we develop to our concentration is stability.
Dilakhachi devan nendi sum tu chelas. Janda thaman nendi shir chekyan. Thamal shir chekyan. Thamal ni des. Kanji di gogmaris sungures ra. Khachigi ani deva tengin zendele chechu yulsawa zamas yulsawa dang. Yulaya tseji neba mase sem koralaya denyam ji gogres deva tang ani thamanch nishane kechu shigor songe chongyores ro chongyores.
Now Lama Tsongkhapa says next, here some add bliss and make it 3 features, while others add limpidity and make it 4. And so we said that the concentration that we develop in this practice has 2 features. Clarity and stability. These are the 2 features. Some other people say that those 2 features are not enough. Also, the next feature that needs to be cultivated in our concentration is, here it says bliss, but this total well-being, we can say. So our mind becomes totally well. Some add to that and say that clarity, stability, and bliss or well-being are not enough. You also need to have limpidity. Here, Lama Tsongkhapa says that these 2 additions are not needed. The 2 basic features for our concentration are clarity and stability.
Da di labgoyo mares ra lamugu pen thambo thawang gore se di mixing she mugu gyunzen de sungorta ra ani yujingi thambani thambala ni de yujingi thambani Chema maybe shegi ne, Chema maybe chu kante, Jim maybe new you pogba lejan, Tamba nyam chebatans. Kawa so yuji number shava na, Tedaki do travel to gipar, Chang tuba che nyambi, Tama chonla, Te ni yang, Chiwa tamoni jebi, Sachi ngarkebate, ngarke jamba le chonwe. Tambul surdu mugulas, searching out the Demba Sage laws, Tilly surdu, Tama Sage, any Shani, Guba mixing Drusha came and lose, Timato Gumundus.
And so Lama Tsongkhapa addresses those 2 additions in explaining that they are not required. So it says, however, the limpidity has 2 aspects. So for those who say that we also need to add the feature of limpidity to the development of concentration, Tsongkhapa says, looking at limpidity, limpidity has 2 aspects. The limpidity of one's awareness feels more limpid than even an immaculate crystal ball full of immaculate water being hit by sunlight on a cloudless sky. And when objects such as pillars appear, a limpidity arises that feels as if one could count even the finest particles. These 2 aspects nevertheless arise from the vibrant clarity that is generated and maintained once subtle laxity has been eliminated. Therefore, it is unnecessary to mention them separately in the beginning. And so, in short, when Lama Tsongkhapa refutes the addition of limpidity to the features of concentration, it says that limpidity actually will be developed when you develop clarity. It does not need to be counted as separate to clarity. Once laxity and of course excitation are eliminated through the cultivation of concentration, you'll also develop limpidity within the clarity of the mind. So you don't need to count it separately.
Terda, ani Deva said, the Gumudus, Drango Mudus, Cousin, the thing is Tamjale, Kagumudus, Dodo Disonores.
Now, there are those that maintain that another feature to a concentration is bliss or joy. And so here Lama Tsongkhapa says that that also is not required because there are concentrations which do not have them.
Pena solo simbi number change gadis di and denyam tera. De kab the dribble chivi, thing in the dribble chivi, thing in the dribble in John las. The thing is the Tandangazu shed there, thing in the gomni, thing is the tobi, dribble at denny, semla, denyam the jungle model, thing is the Korang da nyam the Yobikesha Maris. Pena something tambi in your dos, that the Mamushuata, do be thing is the Sonden Munjong their Martin sauce.
And so when we think of pleasure or bliss as a sensation, Lama Tsongkhapa says, and although joy and bliss in the form of pleasurable sensations as the mental fact of feeling of pleasure arises an effect of concentration accomplished here, they do not arise in association with all the concentrations included in the preliminary stage of the first dhyana, and therefore they are not counted here. So this section mentions a few technical points. And so when we develop concentration here in a certain process, it leads to a result of shamatha. Now, a shamatha is a higher realm mind, and it begins with developing an access to an absorption and ends up in the development of an actual absorption. So here, when shamatha is attained and one attains an access to an absorption, which is a preliminary stage of the first dhyana, it says the mental fact of feeling as being a pleasurable sensations does not necessarily arise with in association with such preliminary stage. So again, reading through that, although joy and bliss in the form of pleasurable sensations arise as an effect of concentration accomplished here, they do not arise in association with all the concentrations, including in the preliminary stage, the axis of the first dhyana, and therefore are not counted here, which means that there could be a result of mental pleasure, mental well-being, which is a result of the development of concentration of calm abiding. However, it is not developed in association with all concentrations.
That thing on the ship Sauji, Hong Maras, Rata, Gunrum Shuch, Gacham Shuch, yours, the something he same Kolia, Koran, Ani, dancing Chetabachi, Penatevichi and Tevichi Sology. Jangoni the Jangin, Tuzotang and Dawakashi Godrich, Tasato and Dawakashi Chilea, the Koran, Piggy. That Yagar Kibi, the showman was the diction, and shoe and giant you, sometime you, Tobache you, the Nijreshas.
Now, this section is rather complicated when it refers to the preliminary stage of the first dhyana, the first absorption. And here in the context of the teachings on the steps of the path of enlightenment, we don't need to go into all the details in the cultivation of the, absorptions. It is a very extensive topic, and when it is studied extensively in study programs such as the one that Geshe attended at Sarah Monastery, you dedicate a certain amount of time just to study the chapter on absorptions. So it's just like saying that there's a particular book, a thick book, which concerns the development of dhyanas. And it contains not only a lot of technical details, but also lots of points that you bring up in debates, lots of points to think about, as explained by Indian masters and others. And so here we don't have the time to look at all the fine details of dhyanas, so we might suffice with that.
다딘서 딘디 체준이도 담바지 고르슬라라 아니 서칭하려봐 지지도 네비 무도비 내차도 담바 딘디 다 서칭하디 용야라야 더 수파도 쪽으로서 수 계획식이랬으니 지원세 샘티 라 미사비 샘티 엔타 파도 쪽으로서.
And so in short, the concentration that we seek to develop has two features: a feature of intense clarity and a feature of abidance or stability, which is a single-pointed stability. And so it says next, the emergence of such vibrancy of the clarity is impeded by laxity and single-pointed the emergence of such vibrancy of the clarity is impeded by laxity. And single-pointed non-conceptuality is impeded by excitement. So these are the two features that obstruct the development of intense clarity or vibrant clarity and single-pointed stability, laxity and excitation.
세지비 뭐도발라는 고베 파르투제비스 고바 베나다지 착sem을 써봐 딘디게 얘네 이라 베나다지 수그라트를 해셔를 써봐 아니 대연을 차비게 차바 슈치에 송마이나 아니 샘지지도 내발이야 아니 파르투제그레스 딘자 간지 친구니 땡인즈 남다 드비 계기 쪼 윤선네 태오스.
And so, for example, excitation is, for example, attachment, which makes the mind be drawn to other objects. It impedes the development of a single-pointed placement. And so here it says, the emergence of such vibrancy of the clarity is impeded by laxity, whereas a single-pointed non-conceptuality is impeded by excitement, such as the one that is caused by attachment. And precisely that is the reason why laxity and excitement are the main obstacles to the accomplishment of pure concentration.
대나 친구 타라남 레벨 무슨 식당 대님 고비 땡인지 경로 남다니 지금 몇이나 langton 따지면 신의 장기와 미스비 땡인지 된두니와 녀위 론덴 남기 추델라 개버차오스.
That is why Tsongkhapa says, if you do not know how to identify subtle and coarse laxity and excitement, and if you do not know an impeccable method for maintaining concentration that stops both of them, even shamatha cannot arise, so to say nothing of special insight. Therefore, the intelligent who strive for concentration should become skilled in this way.
헬라 친구님이 신의 드빙 가게 인신 가게 응은 받던 고속은 모두 땜베스 더 타라당 기원이 직파 아니 가게는 좋수 이제 딘딘 가게인데 봐 본sol을 써봤디 아니 십자진다 아니 제일 대용 거를 쓴 거다 모두 땜베 딘의 신의 드빙 튕긴 땡인지 Council job showers.
That is to say, laxity and excitement are adverse conditions to the accomplishment of shamatha. The identification of adverse conditions and the methods for stopping them are taught below. So it's coming up in Rinpoche's text. Here, I will describe how to generate concentration in a manner that is conducive to shamatha.
Redadin nenga yungosare pena 땡인지 드름니라 랑랭 무스타론디 땡인지 드름니 랑랭 무스타론디 테니 지위기에 아니 가긴 칸스 치고도 고바 가긴 칸스 치고도 pena 무슨 통용 것을했다 무슨 통야로 pena 간주 람가지라 반 드니 아니 수 고긴 치고도 가르 누구도 드럼라야 수 까고들어 가르 마디버 소고디 람가라 무스 템바이나 시니페 아니 무스 라트에저라스 라 어딘 안신 인고서레스 다디 랑가 무스 튀온디티니 아니 고 비길래야 무스 투긴투길래야 라타킨타기티니 아니 본슬래야 자는 저바나 아니 믹스 펜도진 거서 고 담가 땐속이 개버시래샤스 라 담번님 가긴 데리스는 문제 싸우 마치바 디 이거 믹스가 될이야 아 개주지 연구여서레스.
And so here to begin with, Amazon Kappa is not going into fine details with respect to these factors that impede the development of concentration, being laxity and excitement. Rather than going now into great details, it's easier to assess them when we look at a personal experience, when we take up the practice of concentration. If we put it into practice in a real way, we'll be able to identify precisely the measure to which we are affected by laxity and excitement. When we actually do it, we'll have the right measure. We'll know how to assess correctly the degree of excitement or the degree of mental laxity that sets in. It's just like saying that you can get a description of a certain road to be traveled, but when you do the actual walking, you know for sure, you can see directly what things impede your way, what things act as roadblocks, what things slow you down, and so forth. And so you have a better understanding once you walk a certain road. So also here, rather than explaining laxity and excitation in very fine details, if you really take up the practice of concentration, you will understand very precisely how they impede your progress.
Sem migbala zejudu bi chayinla Tengiz said Taya migbala gundin debashi gosos.
Concentration samadhi is the factor of the mind single pointly abiding on its object. It stays on the object continuously. There are two requirements for that: a method for not letting the mind get distracted from its original object, and a precise awareness of whether it is actually distracted.
The Dindigi Pena Ayonla Telani Semsiji Migbali Yanwa Michebi Tabshi Gogres Sam de Migbali Gunden to Degu Yabana Gunden to Degu Yana Migbali Miami Tabshi Gogres Iwan Gurmungur Cheddar Shibi Shibani Gubis Shibani Gubi Tambodini Migba Timbi Tembatris Nibani Shijendis, one assembly and Rogiomi tak Chichetung gita, any Shijenjora Diris, Yendita Dodigan in Javale, Champadan Shijen in your Toba Chavate. Chigi sent me while a Montova Chivicheta, Nibin the Semtrova Rabdu Shivichero Shesonsos.
And so there are two requirements for developing this single pointedness of mind, a continuous placement. So the two requirements are, first of all, a method for not letting the mind get distracted from its original object. And in a sense that if we want continuous placement, continuous abidance of on the object, we need to not allow the mind to become distracted. So we need a method for that. Also, the second method that we need to employ is a precise awareness of whether it is actually distracted. And so the first is mindfulness, allowing a continuous placement. And the second, which is awareness, recognizing when the mind is distracted, is vigilance. Now, vigilance is also translated as alertness or introspection, right? So mindfulness and vigilance, these are the two things that we need. And so the commentary on the ornament for the Mahayana Sutra says, mindfulness and vigilance focusing, for one prevents the mind from scattering away from its object, and the second is fully aware of the mind scattering away.
템바 냠니 미바 제나 이니 테마타도 미바 또 규위 미바 마지비 템바 사와이노스 땡인즈고 사와도 템바레스라.
When mindfulness deteriorates and you forget the object, there's distraction and you lose the object immediately. Therefore, mindfulness that does not forget the object is the root.
템바티 셈믹발라 녀 뜻술니 카르셰바터 믹딘 살tam니 만타 식샤와 초나 대시비 송인 전당 슈진시 깨라 셈팡 토버 체디 서드 카야 무조건 조코스.
This is how to direct the mind towards its object. As explained above, visualize the focal object. Then once it appears, at least minimally, generate a forceful apprehension of the object with your consciousness. Having placed the mind firmly, keep it there without newly analyzing anything.
That did that did the honor tempasing in the country juris say Chiva dilda legorda tempa country juris la di tempati kundules tempa conscience on deep ngobola same gi jeba mevade number miyawi legeno she kebar sumdan dember sonsos.
And since this section explains the application of mindfulness, the next question is, what then is mindfulness? And so in relation to that, the Compendium of Abhidhamma says that mindfulness has three features. Beginning with the question, what is mindfulness? It is a mind that is not forgetful, that has a familiar object, and that functions without distraction.
Tela the Yugi Kebar, Zandangi Kebar, Jelly Kebar. Come there, her neighbor chibi, Migdengi number showers. Zandangi Kebarni, Semgi Jeba Mevati, Yulte, Semgi Majibi Chadi, come the Migdem Majibos.
And so here mindfulness is described having three features: the object feature, the mode of apprehension feature, and the function feature. And so the objective aspect, the object feature, is that it has a familiar object. Since mindfulness does not arise with respect to a hitherto, you say hitherto? It's a weird, yeah, hitherto, such a weird word. Anyway, hitherto unfamiliar object. In this context, it is the appearance of an object of attention that was not previously ascertained.
Zandangi Kebarni Semgi Jebamashi, the Semgi Majetsul Ni Shenki Tibatan, Rangitella Topper Chubana, Migdendin, Didavaino, she Lame Temba 10 to Bazamla Misriki. Semikpala Debati, Turi Teni, Jonse Jam Miamades, Yana Ti Chonzamgi, Tembatora Yinos.
And so looking at then the feature of the mode of apprehension, which is the subjective feature. The subjective aspect, its apprehension, is a mind that is not forgetful. A mind that does not forget the object. In this context, it does not forget the focal object. The way the mind does not forget is not the mere ability to remember when others inquire and you're made to think about it, that your guru taught the object of attention is like this. It's not like that. Rather, it is the way the mind tied to the object is directly mindful of it and is not distracted even in the slightest.
Tenas, Temba Jonsul, Temba Tensulti, Kandasres Ladi, Tena, Sem Migdela Shah Sambatan, Deder Migbala, Tesu Nyambashi Kelas, 테니스도 못도 테니지 슈만 셰바 균균하니 템버된 수지 내 담바이노스.
When there's distraction, mindfulness is lost through its mere occurrence. Hence, after you have placed the mind on the basis of observation, you generate the thought in this way, it is tied to the object. Then without renewing conceptual thought, you sustain the force of this very mind continuously without interruption. That is the real point of the instruction on how to practice mindfulness.
다 젤리 개발니 미벌리 샘션도 모양 맞춰보고.
Now, with respect to the functional aspect, the third feature, it is to not let the mind get distracted from its object.
그렇지. 저를 딕사리스라.
Have you got any questions?
Yes.
Remind me your name, young man. Bill. All right. So if you visualize something with mindfulness, is there a way of stopping concentration with a method that is not distraction? Is that what you're asking? Okay. 근데 그런 딜라덴데 믹스기 합격이 내된다고 지시에메스 네 그런 체어디 초디 카르레스나 다 띵에진 곤두 캡슐라야 다디 캡딜라 챔버 순고 그레스 순도와 아니 챔버기 게디 이양와치 샤게르와 아니 챔버 쇼레아디 이양와마도 챔버 용게 마르베스 베나 참선되는 자 숙침보 갑두 야마미 디 소소케 당와이나 직 챔버 직쇼게로와 제가 이야마마도 챔버 쇼기 게 지기 마르베 셴바얀 체기요레스
균딩 채워지래. 단다 갑둘라 텐샤기 채워지래슬라다.
I guess just wondering if it's a question that you had kind of continuously bothering you, or is it something just that arose today in relation to this subject matter? Just arose today.
그리.
Yeah. Today only.
And it land things out there coverage.
Well, if it's for today only, then it's hard to kind of give it an answer that is really vast and or deep and profound.
작차다 그게 그래서 사물로게 샘 이야기 규칙으로서 그래서 샘 이야기 전부 라비 가진 조들이스 작차 원내기 전부 땜부지와나 작차 무그 가린 숨도 신도 딘지질이야 아니 총길 전부 신도 딘지질에 된 땡인지 짱바는 짱투고 그래서 작차디 가진을 차고 말했어.
And so, jokes aside, when we look at what distraction means when your mind is wandering away from the object of when the object of mindfulness, any occurrence that causes that to happen, either in terms of you being, someone is calling your name, or you hear the ring of a bell, or what have you, all of this come under the banner of distraction. And that when your mind does not stay upon with mindfulness upon the object, it is distracted regardless of what the scenario that led to that is. Whereas when that doesn't happen, when your mind is not distracted from the object of mindfulness, you can find yourself, for example, even in a busy and noisy city. You know, if you find a tree in the middle of a very busy and very busy city, when there's a lot of hustle and bustle happening around you, if your concentration is not interrupted by sound and so forth, then you're still mindful of the object, your mindfulness is spot on.
배시 베나자랑게 몸이 라트살이야 데디더라 샘디슈 순 비기 춘탄데 디 람가 케워서 모터 드로이나 코마레스 디 켄치마 비기리야 샘 오니 샘테 바이나 아니 잠마고했던데 먼저 자살을 데디 빙아동 보동 베든 덤반데 장린 땅 지나 카시 베드니 쇼드워스라
Geshe reckons that Yogari has a similar experience when you are painting tanko, doing one of your artwork. You know, so the art studio is quite near the road, the main road coming in. And Geshe reckons that you've had that experience before, where you were so focused on your artwork and painting that you haven't even noticed the sound of cars traveling along the road. You know, so that is an example of a concentration that is not interrupted and is not distracted by sound and so forth. There are people, for example, at a monastery where they go to pujas, and there's a lot of cacophony when you go to pujas. So the sound of bells and drums and trumpets and so forth. So, you know, within that big cacophony, people fall asleep. You know, they're not tending the mind to all that noise.
Thank you.
Stability first and then clarity. Then it started some point. It seems to be talking more about
Clarity. Okay. All right. So Venerable Wamo is saying that there was a paragraph earlier on that spoke first of all of stability and then clarity, those two aspects of concentration, establishing stability first and then clarity, whereas later on the explanation was referring to clarity first and then stability. So is it a matter of significance or just a mode of explanation? Dila Jerimpoche tingin gyonzu di Geshe Kyundu halam di nyama tambo di tingin kiachuni Geshe Kyundu tambo tencha sunla dijela salcha sumbare. Ini dijela yanga Geshe Kyundu tambo selcha Geshe Kyune ani tencha Geshe Kyumbares. Dila mixegi nenga yorve siemena di shetsugi neche. Koran di layamare di loyamare. Tambo kasas. Do you have the specific paragraphs in the text? So the one that began with that being so. Okay.
concentration factor of vibrant clarity and
yeah. Okay. Nga sopeshi shorjangi teslogadwa. Inedila nga so dirin go tsuerwa. Go tsue di data Thomas Sem Kanazimbe Mikten Niebetse Utan Chani Tang Kui Do Shenyan Shadni Jimbashindu Lenga Son Sel Dabla Sajdoa.
Yeah.
Chezan Kabdila Tambo Tencha Secha Denden Shipju Sebo Chego Mares Tambo Necha des Congo Gres Digela Sebo Sero Jogres Tambo Di Sunche Ani Digela Tingenzin Gyume Keba Nid Botani Did Drupajeva Tingenzin the Keba Nathan Dembashin Sajdoa.
디 바름 추요 말이스. 담보디 아니 살마사세디 미비기 유디기 차용수 저와 살마사라 샤고리스. 어떤 미고 마스 유테 말이스. 미와사 먹으시 유테 말이스. 강한테사기 미비기 그 꾸지어라스. 꾸디기 아니 차시 용수 저와 살마스. 계지 디시고르마도 디사차 먹으시 유테 말이스. 디가라야 사차디 강 비기 샤야디 기침을 될 때고 송어레스. 모두 디가우스 아니 사차드 담보시아바다. 제메가우스 아니 가서 디 딘디 코도 된던 로고 말레스.
And so the first reference to the measure of rendering the focal object that the mind is attending to is saying that you need to develop stability first, but it does not need to say that you need not to have clarity at all. It's rather that clarity can come at different degrees. And so it says that rather than aiming at developing utmost clarity from the very get-go, from the very outset, to begin with, maintain whatever clarity you can get, but develop stability with respect to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Dila di yan Chidu.
Yeah.
Could Geshe please explain the difference between shamatha and samadhi? Dila tingazintan shinedi nila keba yutame.
Keba yoris.
Keba karis. Dila keba karis.
Shugin
Mak di kran keba karim, but di deshig yamana jela.
Jelin desjan desari. Ida chida tingizindi 신이기 가서다 신이기 jorwasola 지레스 땡인진 땡인진 컴퓨터기 땡인진 접사비 jelaya 신이 접단 시고레스.
So first off, there is a difference between shamatha and samadhi. So samadhi is concentration. Shamatha, or in English, calm abiding, is an application, which is the result of cultivating concentration. So having cultivated concentration, we attain shamatha, or having cultivated samadhi, we attain shamatha. But more details about the relationship between the two, how from the development of concentration, samadhi, you receive shamatha, more details will come later on.
And then the thing said, you lay a teach the nibi. 네 가서다 내차 토바들이야. 로 땡이즈라고 그래서. 다 신의 디톱이 비기 샘 레론스 규비 qabl야. 신이 아니 신에게 세시들 얘기도 왔어.
근데 신의 디 땡이즈기 차.
제부터지.
And so the translation of samadhi into English is concentration, which is a single pointedness of mind, which means that it is the factor of abidance on a particular object. So abiding on an object, being single pointed on it. And so when this factor of abidance is developed, it can be developed to the point in which the body and mind are made serviceable. And so when they are made serviceable, you get the result of calm abiding, shamatha, which means that shamatha is a result of cultivating samadhi. Thank you. We will leave it here for today. We'll finish off with the recitation of the final Lamrim dedication. Sorry. From my two collections, vast space that the master working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded parts of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice, using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion. May I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I've discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion. In whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by even this graded path of enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never be parted in any of the lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.